Hello boys and girls, welcome back to another English language lesson for grade 7. And today we want to look at persuasive writing. Now you're probably asking yourself, what is persuasive writing? Let's dive right in. Persuasive writing is writing that tries to convince, and I want you to remember that word, convince a reader to do something or to believe what you believe about a certain topic. It takes a position for or against something. I want you to also remember that. It takes a position for or against something. Now, persuasive writing can be used for a variety of reasons. Let's dive into a few. You can use it to support a cause. For example, please support my football team by buying discount coupons, or urge people to action, vote for Sarah, or make a change. The principal should let us wear hats. Another reason, prove something wrong. Cell phones don't cause brain cancer. Another one, stir up sympathy. If you don't adopt a dog, it could have to live in a shelter. Another reason, create interest. Better grades get you a better job and more money. And finally, get people to agree with you. I am sure you'll agree that Milky Way is the best candy bar. Now, I'm quite sure that many of you have tried to persuade your parents to give you whatever you wanted, whether it be more money, allow you to go visit a friend, go have a sleepover. So it's a skill that we oftentimes use, but now we want to put that skill into our writing. Now, persuasive writing follows a certain format. You have the introduction, the body, and the conclusion. Now, the introduction with a hook and thesis statement. Now, when we talk about the hook, that is an interesting statement that you use to catch the attention of your readers. You want to pull them in. So your words, they're your bait. So you want to bait them in. When we talk about the body, this is where you now develop your persuasive piece. You develop your point or your points that you want to make. And finally, in the conclusion, where main points are summarized and reviewed, and the reader is left with something to think about. I want to say that again because oftentimes persons are confused when it comes to the conclusion as to what they should write. This is where your main points are summarized and reviewed, and the reader is left with something to think about. Now, before you start writing, you should know your audience. Whether your audience will be children, teenagers, adults, senior citizens, you need to know. Who will read your writing? Who do you need to convince? The audience may be your friends, your teachers, your parents, your principal, the readers of a newspaper, or the president of Guyana. Now, will you be graded? On what? So all of these are things you need to think about before you start writing. Should you be casual or professional? Meaning, should your writing be formal or informal? Because obviously, if we're writing a persuasive piece to your teacher or to a government official, it must be formal. But if you're writing it to your friends, it can be informal. Another important factor, you need to pick a side. So as the writer, you should clearly state your position and stick with that position. So let's say you're writing a persuasive piece and you are against the statement given. You want to be able to sustain that perspective throughout your writing. So you can't start off being against and then halfway through, you're now for the topic. Generally, the position that you take is stated in the opening paragraph or introduction. Another point, do your research. I want to say that again. Do your research. A lot of times students like to write persuasive pieces and they're filled with their opinions. Nothing is wrong with your opinions, but you need to also have research-based evidence to support what you are saying. Because oftentimes our opinions, they're very biased. Now, in order to convince the reader, you need more than just an opinion. You need facts. I want you to tell yourself, I need facts. Say that again. I need facts. One more time. I need facts. Or examples to back your opinion. So be sure to do the research. Now let's dive into the introduction some more. How do you really have an effective hook to draw your readers in? How? Now the reader's attention, you grab it by doing one or more of the following. You can have an anecdote or scenario. So you start off your introduction by talking about something, maybe a story, something that happened to someone, but it must be linked to your point, what you're talking about, because your readers should see the connection as they continue reading. Secondly, you can have a quotation. And let's remember with a quotation, we must always have the source. So if you're saying something by Martin Luther King, you need to have at the end of his quote, Martin Luther King Jr. Another strategy you can use, an interesting fact or statistic. Now this is something I love to do whenever I'm writing any essay. I like to start with an interesting fact on the topic or a statistic that is once again going to be connected to my main point or points. You can also use a question. Now using questions is very important, especially rhetorical questions. Now it tells how the writing will be organized. So when someone reads the introduction of your writing, of your essay, it tells them, okay, this is the direction that you are taking with this piece. Now the author's position is clearly stated in a thesis statement. The author's position is clearly stated in a thesis statement. So your thesis statement now contains the points that will be further explained in the body of your writing. Now let's look at a few examples. Now to get your reader's attention with a challenging thought, hear this example. What's plain and boring? What makes all students in a school building look the same and lose their individuality? If you guess uniforms, you're correct. Let's look at this example again. What's plain and boring? What makes all students in a school building look the same and lose their individuality? If you guess uniforms, you're correct. So in that example, we see that the writer tries to grasp his or her reader's attention with a challenging thought. Now, many students, they don't really like the fact that they have to wear a uniform. They feel as if it's restricting and they can't express who they really are. And that's why you find sometimes students would make their own changes to their uniform and try to get away with it. Let's look at another example where we will begin with a strong statement. Fast food consumption has risen 500% since 1970 and today reaches nearly every part of society, including some public schools' cafeterias. Let's go again. Fast food consumption has risen 500% since 1970 and today reaches nearly every part of society, including some public schools' cafeterias. So upon reading this, upon hearing this statement, it's very serious because when we think of it, fast food consumption has risen over 500%. It tells us a lot, and we know fast food, eating it habitually, it's not healthy for our bodies. Now let's look at an introductory paragraph. Let's start with the title. Fast food is killing the youth. Now, it's very important that you give your essay a title. Think of the title as a name. And you want to ensure that the name that you give to it, the title, that it is interesting. Because think about it. For those of you that love to read books, what attracts you to a book? Sometimes for some people, it's the name. For some people, it's the color. For some people, it's the author. For me, it's all of those. But more specifically, it's the title. Because that creates interest for me. Now let's continue. Did you know that a typical child needs 2,000 calories for an entire day? And Burger King's Whopper with triple cheese has 1,230 calories? That is far more calories than anyone needs in one day. Fast food consumption has risen 500% since 1970 and today reaches nearly every part of society, including some public schools' cafeterias. Fast food is harmful because it rapidly increases weight, causes high blood pressure, and leads to sluggishness. Fast food is bad for your health. All right. So you notice there at the end we have the thesis statement that fast food is bad for your health. So we know that in the development of this essay in the body, that's what's going to be developed. That fast food is bad for your health. So the writer will now present evidence that is not only opinionated but factual to convince you that fast food is bad for your health. All right? So the activity for today, you are going to have a statement and then you are going to write an introduction for this statement. Now remember, you can choose, do I want to agree with the statement or do I want to disagree with it? And I want you to just write an introductory paragraph. Is that clear? Now what is the statement? Should public school students wear uniforms? Should public school students wear uniforms? I want you to think about it. And I want you to write an introductory paragraph. Now remember, you want to have a hook at the beginning. You want to have the points that you will be developing stated in this paragraph along with your thesis statement. So go out and write and have a great time. Now I want to thank you for participating in class today. I hope you learned a lot. And until we meet again, I'm Sir Jared and I'm out.